What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Pastor Gains, and I have been doing a lot of testing of faith-based weapons in Elden Ring since patch 1.07 has released. And these are the best weapons, in my opinion, that you can get for your faith builds in this newest patch. Now, I have a total of about 5 or 6 weapons here. We're going to go through them, look at their stats, look at their Ashes of War, compare everything, and overall you guys should have a pretty decent idea of what best weapons you should use as you are traversing through this next patch in Elden Ring. So, without further ado, we are going to start out with the Sacred Relic Sword. That's right, this sword is, like I've said before, not a stranger. It is still king. It is still one of the best weapons you can get in this entire game. It does have a faith attribute of C, so it is okay when it comes to your faith damage, but with your physical damage and your holy damage combined, this is going to be really, really great. And the Wave of Gold Ash of War is god tier when it comes to clearing enemies, area of effect damage, and just clearing a very wide range of your enemies very, very quickly. This is definitely a go-to weapon for any faith build that you are going to be using. If you can get buffing of this weapon with such things as Erd Tree Blessing or anything along those lines, you're going to be doing very, very well with this weapon, especially with the Ash of War, which makes it so great for clearing all the ads. Now, you are going to pick this weapon up, sadly, at the very, very end of the game, so this is going to be the best New Game Plus type of weapon, or at least one of them that you can use on your 2nd, 3rd, or 10th playthrough, whichever one you are on. You do get it from the essence that drops from the Divine Beast at the end of the game. You turn it into the Old Crone and Rune Table Hold, then you can get this weapon and use it on your next playthrough. The next weapon we're going to be looking at here is the Coated Sword. Now, as you can see, there is 0 physical damage on this weapon, but that's okay because the holy damage is insane. As its Ash of War, it has Unblockable Blade, which is exactly what it says it is. Nothing can block this. It goes through shields. It has extraordinarily long range. I absolutely love playing with this weapon. It just makes me feel like a powerhouse, and it's a single-handed weapon, which means the strikes are really, really quick. So you can get some good damage off on it. It does have a faith scaling of A, which is one of the better faith scalings in the game. So if you are going to check this weapon out, you're going to need to go to where the old round table hold is in the capital. You walk to where the 2 fingers was sitting. There is going to be the blade sitting on top of the chair. You grab it, and then the blade is yours. This is definitely a really, really nice choice, especially when you start buffing with all kinds of different holy damage spells and holy damage buffs. This is going to get you exactly where you want to go damage-wise, and it's also going to be very, very easy to use. So the next weapon we have going on is the Golden Order Greatsword. This is going to take our 3rd slot in no particular order. Not only does it look awesome, but its Ash of War is super unique. You can do a seal, and then you hit the left trigger again, and it will unleash a huge horizontal strike in front of you that can take multiple enemies out at one time. This is definitely a great weapon. It has a faith attribute scaling of B, which is also on the higher side of faith scalings. It is pretty decent. The physical damage isn't terrible. The holy damage is where it's really going to get good, though, because if you pair this with anything that buffs your holy damage, you are going to be putting out damage like a truck. It's going to feel good to use. The pattern of strikes is great. You have some horizontal strikes, you have some vertical strikes, so you have all of your attributes covered. And as I mentioned before, the Ash of War is established order, which is going to give you that super awesome slice of holy damage directly in front of you. It's going to do a great deal of damage, and it's going to allow you to clear a bunch of enemies at one time. Now, if you want to get this exact weapon, you need to go to the Cave of the Forlorn, which is going to be a dungeon in the Ice region. And in order to get there, you also need to have the Halig Tree medallions. As soon as you navigate your way through that dungeon, you'll attain the sword, and then you can use it in your gameplay. Now, in slot number 4, we're going to have possibly my favorite weapon to use with my current build I'm using right now, which is the Inseparable Sword. This sword has a great Ash of War, it's got amazing physical damage and holy damage, and once you use the Ash of War, it is going to buff the weapon to give you even more holy damage. So, with that being said, the Ash of War is called Sacred Blade, and what this is going to allow you to do is shoot a horizontal strike of holy damage directly in front of you. It is single target, so that is kind of a bummer, but it does a very decent amount of damage. After it hits that target, it also is going to retain a buff after you use the Ash of War that's going to allow you to do way more holy damage stacked on top of your physical damage, which makes this sword an absolute powerhouse. Anytime that I've used this weapon, I always have staggered the enemy, and with the buffs that we just got in the patch to Greatswords, this is an excellent weapon for you to be using. It has a faith scaling of B, which once again, like I said, is on the higher side of things, and it overall looks super, super great as well. So if you're looking for the aesthetic of Elden Ring, this one is going to match exactly what you need it to be. I highly recommend this weapon. It is one of my favorites to use. I definitely would check it out. Now, if you want to attain this weapon, the location is going to be at the very end of Fia's questline, where Dee's brother is holding a sword up above a dead Fia. Now, all you have to do is rest at that site of grace. You don't have to kill him, and when you finish resting at the site of grace, you're going to be able to get the armor and the sword, so you will have them without having to destroy one of the NPCs. So that is exactly how you get this weapon. It is an extraordinarily long questline, but if you are doing it as the game progresses, you will be just fine. And obviously, this list would not be complete without the Blasphemous Blade. This is definitely no stranger to any faith build in the game, and with all the buffs we just got to great swords, this is just an absolute beast still. It has an absolutely fantastic Ash of War called Taker's Flames, which is going to hoist the sword above your head and crash down a ridiculous amount of fire damage on the enemy. It has great physical damage, it has amazing fire damage, and it scales with Faith with a Faith scaling of B. You are going to find that in this list there are going to be no weapons that are scaled less than B, because I didn't feel like they were necessary on a list of the best Faith weapons if their Faith scaling is not at least B or higher. So, the Blasphemous Blade is at the Volcano Manor questline, and you have to do the entire questline so you can kill the boss and then attain this weapon from his essence. It is a really good weapon. I have used it in every single one of the builds that I have created. And another cool aspect of this weapon is that it restores health on kills. This is super advantageous to anybody who typically trades damage or is constantly in fighting and running out of Estus. This weapon is going to be your saving grace. Like I said, in my personal opinion, this weapon is potentially the best weapon in the game, especially at the changes that have just been made. So check it out, use it on your builds, and leave it in the comments and let me know what you guys think. And the last weapon we have on our list is Malicus Black Blade. This weapon is great. I love it. The Ash of War is super cool. Not only does it look cool, but it has a very neat effect. The Ash of War is called Destined Death, and it reduces the max health of the enemy that you hit by 10% for a short period of time. So it encourages you to be in the fray, continually hitting the enemy, continually using the Ash of War to continually keep that enemy going down in health. Now, the attack rating of this weapon is one of the highest in the game, and it does have a B in Faith scaling and a B in Strength scaling. So if you were to do a Faith Strength build, this weapon is going to be your ultimate go-to, and it's a really hard-hitting weapon. The physical damage is 311 plus 215, and if you use a bunch of holy buffs, you're also going to be doing holy damage on top of that physical damage. It is going to be an absolute powerhouse. This list would not be complete if I didn't at least mention this weapon, because on top of the fact that it just looks amazing, it also makes you feel like the main character in an anime when you are using it against enemies. I highly recommend this weapon. It's definitely a lot of fun, especially if you have that strength on top of your faith, like I said. It's just going to be an overall good time. You are going to find that you are going to trade damage a lot with this weapon just because you're constantly in the fray. The reason being is because the blade swings a little bit slower, and the recovery from that blade coming off the ground is also a little bit slower than I would like, but the damage overall really makes up for that, and I would highly recommend this weapon as a whole. But that's it for the video, guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out to the very end. Let me know in the comments what weapons you're currently using. If you're running a Faith build, what weapons do you have for that Faith build? Let me know which ones I should be using as well. But like I said, these are the best ones that I have found so far. Would love to talk to you guys more about it. If you like this kind of content, make sure to hit that bell notification so you can know when I'm making more Elden Ring content. I would appreciate it a ton. And until next time, guys, I'll see you then.